Morning. Obviously rocking the birds this morning. Let's not get into that. I want to talk about Fallout 76 and how it has a better score than Starfield. Starfield falls lower than Fallout 76 on Steam ratings. The average rating for Starfield is 71.67, which is slightly lower than the 71.75 by Fallout 76. If you go on Steam right now, as of September 26th, it actually has a mostly positive review rating that is above 75%. Not everybody is right all the time, so I might be wrong when I attribute this, but I do have a theory. And my theory is that these ratings are just going to progressively get better over time. If you look at a lot of these Steam reviews, the playtime is very low and they're making very shallow statements. And I think we could directly attribute those shallow statements to the fact that this game has a very open world and it's an explorative space game that's going to lead a lot of people in different directions to have very different experiences, which was actually the whole point of Todd Howard's vision for this game, but I'm wondering how hard of a double-edged sword might that be. I'm not gonna fanboy all over this video and pretend like there aren't looming issues inside of this game that need some really big help. So in an attempt to further validate my theory here, I'm going to read some of these low-end Steam reviews to you that have between 1 and 20 hours played. 75% of 58,000 reviewers are mostly positive. I feel like this one kind of essentially just says everything that I have been trying to, like, this 4.3 hours on record, big game with nothing in it. This game takes a while to warm up, and if this person just said very boring beginning, I would be like, yeah, it is. Yes, it is. I agree with you. But they're just saying that it's a big game with nothing in it because they actually didn't take the time. 3 hours at the review time. Jail system is broke. You can be teleported or you're instantly free. Why even bother with a jail system if you can't break out of your cell? Out of all this game has to offer, that's what you're worried about. Like, you played 4 hours of this game, 3 hours at review time, and at this point you got jailed one time and that was what you want. Like, did you not take the Crimson Fleet? Did you not take that quest? To top it off, now you even have a damn kid on board. That bothers you? That Samco brought his daughter with him? It's part of his character. It's like literally what makes his character him. Like, he brings his daughter everywhere. He's self-efficient in a crazy, insane space galactic war. So you want to be locked in a cage and you're upset that there's a child on board that barely talks. That's fair. That's fair. And you're 3 hours of gameplay, everybody's glad that you put your fingers on your keyboard and decided to share your feelings. Almost everything is subpar, but what would you expect from people behind Skyrim? If you didn't like Skyrim, or Fallout for that matter, don't buy the game that came from the same people. They spent 40 minutes in the game and performance is dog shit. We could probably just like check the specs required of the game before you buy it. This guy put in a review at 8 hours into the game and said, if you love loading screens, fetch requests, and navigating layers of UI and uncomfortable layers of eye contact from NPCs, then this game is for you. First off, the eye contact is hilarious. Also kind of like really shallow in the very beginning of the game, which I'm sure that obviously you didn't really forward the main quest line too much in 8 hours of actual game time. Did you really expect to get like the game's craziest quest coming out of a coffee shop? Or did you expect to go maybe into the main story and dig and find out about all the main characters in the game and what their goals are and what the goal of the game is in 8 hours? Of course the game seems very shallow. You need to dig. I even played it because 8 hours into a game and complaining about shallow quest lines that you found in a coffee shop. It's almost as like he had a preconceived notion of the game before he even opened it. We have another one with 7 hours of gameplay before they gave it a thumbs down. 7 hours of gameplay. No gamma slider, no brightness slider, no way to set the render resolution. There is actually a render resolution that you can fix. There's no resolution options, replaced exclusively with AMD's terrible upscaling. Just wait for the mods, and I'm sure that they're going to put NVIDIA in there for GeForce. Exclusive AMD partnership. A lot of people will pick which company they go with. That's nothing abnormal here. Some people go GeForce, some people go AMD. It is what it is. Utterly abysmal performance from nearly all hardware. Even with an RTX 3090 and it still works in the hardware, isn't being... Guys, I'm running a 3070 Ti and I'm perfectly fine. I literally run OBS in the background with 2 different like vertical and horizontal scenes and everything runs at almost 60 frames per second. I don't know. This one actually, I don't even have words. Like, this is some of the most petty ways to hit thumbs down on one of these games. Like, no FOV slider? Really, dude? Like, that's your biggest complaint about a game? If I had to put the FOV slider on my list of things that I would complain about, it might land 110th. And here it is
first on his complaints. I don't get it, but then you look at how many hours they played and then you totally get it. Up. And if he was like, yeah, I played 7 hours of it, got bored and logged off, I would respect it more than just coming up with reasons like an FOV slider. Interesting storylines, but the fast travel simulator, the space travel is poorly designed and it's only realistic in the worst ways. No, the worst way of being realistic would be having to spend like 7 days inside of a ship staring at a black abyss to get from one planet to another. Like I point out as I'm closing this video that most people played this game on Game Pass. Like the Steam reviews are probably a little, they're a little mad right now that they paid $70 for a game that, I mean, God forbid you bought the same developer as Skyrim and it has similar features of Skyrim. But I'm sure that some people were just, they were trying to give Bethesda a second chance and they're already frustrated with this company. They decided to spend $70 instead of buying the Game Pass and trying it out for $10 instead. And now they're upset about things that they didn't things that they marketed, like the game has poor performance. Look at the minimum specs required to play the game. The game only has AMD. It doesn't have DLSS. Well, I mean, you can just literally Google and find out that was the deal that they made with Starfield and AMD. The game has a lot of loading screens. Well, it's got 1,000 planets. Did you expect to seamlessly travel in space and not have a loading screen with 1,000 planets and 100 galaxies? I think this game is properly rated on Steam right now. I think a 7.5 out of 10 is actually a really good place for the very beginning of this game. But I mean, when you dig into where the negative reviews come from, it almost seems like a disingenuous, like almost naive way of rating this game and with very, very shallow perception of how the game actually is. And I feel like a lot of people came into this game with like preconceived notions about how they're going to feel about this game and just bought the game to validate those notions. Instead of being upset that you spent $100, maybe just be a better consumer. It's really just that simple. If you were worried about investing your time and money inside of a game that you knew was already questionable from a place that was already questionable, then why would you not just pay the $10 to get basically a free trial of the game? This game is not as bad as Fallout 76 was. The game is not rated as bad as Fallout 76 was, and it is not the worst Bethesda game that has ever been made. And when the people that actually complete this game and get into New Game Plus, or they move into a different game and they look back on this game, maybe they'll write a better Steam review on this game, and you can get it from people that actually gave the game a try. Hope you guys liked and enjoyed this. I'm just doing a series where I essentially drink my coffee and talk to you guys about video games in the morning. And if you don't mind, like and subscribe on the bottom right there. It helps me support the channel quite a bit. And I'm going to be doing this pretty much on a weekly basis, so keep your eyes out.